Okay, perhaps the happiest Sunday quarterback we've had in quite some time, maybe 8 years, in fact. The Huskers clinched bowl eligibility, knocking off Wisconsin 44-25. Sean, I want to ask you about the offense, first of all. Dylan Raiola, perhaps his best complete game of the season?
Yeah, just the rhythm, the swagger, the way the run game complemented the offense. A lot of the throws to the split ends and the receivers were just a lot easier today because of the balance of the offense. When you run the ball with Emmett Johnson, and even in the red zone, like Dante Dowdell giving Nebraska 3 touchdowns, so many other things go. And Ja'Cory Barney looks better. Jamal Banks looks better. Isaiah Nayor looks better. Everybody, I think, improved because of the way the running game got Nebraska going. And the running game was getting them off balance. I thought that was the other key. Wisconsin just never really knew how and where it was coming.
Yeah, Nebraska runs it for a 180 against Wisconsin. Dowdell goes for 3 touchdowns. Emmett Johnson, the first Husker over 100 for the season. And as you mentioned, Ja'Cory Barney with a collegiate high, 9 catches. Now, how much is this Dana Holgorsen, or how much is this guy finally making plays?
I think it's a little bit of both, but I just think knowing what they want to be and who they are and the ability to figure out a way to run the ball, it just opens up so many other things. When you're predictable, safeties can play back on you. And when the safeties played back, that arm of Dylan Raiola just doesn't look the same. But when you have to respect the run, all of a sudden, that arm of Dylan Raiola shows out, and I think we saw that in this game.
And a couple of those swing passes, too. There was a bunch of running backs catching passes today. I know Emmett Johnson, 6 catches for 85 yards. He was a threat coming out of the backfield. Defensively, not going to be their best performance, but they got the job done when they had to.
Here's what really mattered. There were 2 or 3 situational third and short,
100%.
Fourth and short downs, and they won those downs early in the game. That is what swung the game. Luke Fickell decided to go for a 4th down instead of a field goal, and then Nebraska stopped them there. I thought those early moments were the difference because the way the offense played, they weren't really being stopped. They were going to get 7 or 3 on most possessions, and to get a couple empty possessions and to open the third quarter with a 3 and out with Wisconsin coming out of the locker room was huge.
100%. And I thought when Bonner fumbled early in the game, in the first half, and the defense
Here
forced
we go
them.
again.
Yeah, and the defense, though, forced them to kick a field goal, and they missed. Remember, they took a false start penalty and moved back 5 yards, and the guy shanked it to the left. I thought that was huge. All right, so special teams, too. Nebraska's special teams quietly making progress. We haven't talked about it fully in weeks.
Yeah, Ja'Cory Barney opens the game with a 45-yard return.
That was huge.
Probably the most meaningful kick return we've seen in a Nebraska game in a number of years. I mean, I'm being serious.
Yeah.
Like, we have seen awful kick returns for the last 10 years, where we don't really see a lot of significant ones. I mean, Amir Abdullah is probably the last guy.
Sure.
That was to set the tone. And then you look at Brian Buschini, 49-yard punt to the 3. John Hall, 3 for 3 on field goals. Vince Genatone makes a big tackle. Carter Nelson makes a big tackle. I mean, all the elements of special teams. Yes, Wisconsin might have had 1 return of note, but it was an A-level performance for special teams.
Yeah, Barney's opening kickoff return for 45 yards, the longest of the season for Nebraska. Now, Sean, you've been doing this a long time. You obviously way longer than me. How can you put into the words how meaningful Saturday's win was against Wisconsin to get to 6? You know, we always made fun of Bill Moose, and you got to get to 6. But you know what? You got to get to 6, and it's a lot harder than it looks.
Yeah, I mean, especially in the parity of college football now, 9 conference scheduled games. I mean, wins don't come easy when every coach makes $5, $6, $7, $8 million in this league, and Nebraska has learned that. And I think just the emotions that Nebraska felt coming off the field, I could feel it from the fans. I could feel it from the players. We got even a mild field storming with the student body, the Freedom Trophy hoisted. This was an emotional night for a lot of people, the fans, the administrators, the leadership, because it's been hell. Let's just not beat around the bush. Since 2016, it's been hell to be a Nebraska fan, and this fan base is stuck by this team through some of the darkest days in the modern day history, and this was a small moment, but a big moment for the future of the program.
And think about Matt Rhule. This was his 9th game in which his team could clinch bowl eligibility. He was 0 for 8 and finally gets over that hump. And in his post-game press conference, Troy Dannon was there. The governor standing there. It's just a huge moment.
Gold.
Dr. Gold was there. Just a huge moment of alignment for the university. And now it sets up Friday, which is going to be another huge game because with every win, you get a better bowl game.
Hey, they're all excited. They get to go on a bowl trip, too.
Right?
I mean, they all go, too, with them. So, no, but you're right. At 6 wins, Nebraska will be the most attractive 6-win team in bowl history. Now, Michigan's going to be one of those too. But if Nebraska can somehow get to 7, they're going to be treated like an 8-win team. And if they beat Iowa, you know, who knows? They're in Tampa. They're in Nashville. I mean, they're in somewhere pretty attractive. And I'll say this right now. If they beat Iowa, be prepared for 30,000 Nebraska fans to follow this team somewhere.
Yeah, very, very hungry fan base who wants to go bowling somewhere warm. We'll find out in a couple of weeks. First up is a date with Iowa in Iowa City under the lights in Kinnick on Black Friday.